Greetings, podsters and podlars, and welcome to Cazza and Tracy Talk Gavin and Stacey. I'm Tracy.
And I'm Caroline, inverted commas, Cazza.
And we are here to tell you what's occurring in Season 3, Episode 2 of Gavin and Stacey. And as always, let's begin with Tracy's Pracy, and we learn that the baby making is well underway. Stacey phones Gavin at work to ask why he didn't stop for sex before he went to work. He says she was asleep. Stacey says that doesn't matter. He's to wake her up. They have to have sex twice a day.
He doesn't even have to wake her up, she says.
Yeah, and they'll do the nice one later. After the world's most gruelling practice job interview with Bryn and Gwen, Stacey goes off to a job interview at Marco's food van and is offered a job on the spot. At the end of the day, the literal day, not Nessa's at the end of the day, Gavin and Stacey meet Nessa at the van, and along with Neil the baby, they all set off to Essex for the weekend, where the boys will be having a golf day while the girls go off to the spa. When they arrive at Mick and Pam's, Dawn, Pete and Smithy have already arrived and the party has already started. The takeaway food arrives, the party continues and grows wilder with shots, dancing on the sofa, and Mick falling asleep in someone else's clothes. I guess we aren't entirely surprised that the episode ends the morning after the night before with Smithy and Nessa in bed together. Really, almost nothing happens in terms of plot. So I'm interested to hear what you think this episode is about.
Well, look, so the two plot points really are that Ness and Smith get back together again, but they also forge a little bit of understanding, and it's weirdly over their principles about ordering takeaway in a group. They get each other. And then also just that whole journey of Stace trying for a baby and doing her classic Stace of being boots and all about it. And it's just like, no, we've got to have one and we've got to have it now and we've got to do sex all the time. Yeah, but I also think they're just settling in, not settling, but like really in relishing their Gavin and Stacey shtick, which is, a very long scene about ordering Indian takeaway. I mean, that's at least a good 5 minutes of a 30-minute episode, and a great big drunken party and just people being ridiculous. So is this the one where and just little talks about looking for the Indian takeaway menu in the messy drawer and all that sort of thing. So they're just settling into people's idiosyncrasies that, we all kind of recognise, I think, or most of us would recognise. Oh, the messy drawer, yes, you know what I mean? Like they're inviting you to say, I don't know, to relish that stuff, which I am so here for.
Yeah, I feel the same. I feel like, the first episode was this whirlwind romance from meeting, engagement, wedding, waiting for the baby to be born in Season 2, and now we can just sort of sit back and enjoy the Gavin and Stacey universe. I think it invests us even more in the characters in a way. So watching it now in 2024, how do you think it's standing up? Anything making you cringe or not get?
I wasn't really here for the whole Nessa's dad bringing out that bin bag full of Betamax porn videos for him and Dave to watch together. Like, do men just sit around and watch porn together? Like, I just
don't
find
know.
That so, is that a thing? I know I'm sheltered, but oh my God.
I don't know.
And then do they wank in front of each other? I don't know if this is going somewhere where I shouldn't go, but it really did make me, yeah, that was mine. And that's obviously says a lot about who I am.
I guess I found that quite funny, not because I was wondering whether that's what people really do, but because I totally believe that's what they would have done. And I totally believe Nessa wouldn't have worried about it.
So Dave was giving all these sort of looks like, when that stuff was being offered to him as a distraction for Ness going away. Do you think he would then have gone, okay, well, we may as well sit down and watch
I don't know if Dave was really there for it. Yeah. I don't think so. He was finding the whole exchange rather peculiar, I think.
Yeah, but he didn't say anything, and Dave usually says something. So I just wonder if at the end he just went, if you can't beat him, join him.
I feel like these episodes are fantastic. I love them. Yeah. I still am enjoying them. What about, did you see much in the way of character arcs or development?
some of my favourite character moments was what a party animal Pam was. Like, she was so much fun. I enjoyed Bryn and Gwen doing that little bit of neighbour watching at the start, and they
looking out of Gwen's window.
Well, Gwen wasn't, but he would report on something and she would ask a question pertinent to which,
yes.
Was always bang on the money. It had the iconic rap with Rudy, so James Corden and Sheridan Smith, doing a rap on the phone with Gavin listening in occasionally. And I love those scenes where they're just on the phone listening to each other. Was there huge development?
I didn't really think so. Like I say, I think it's really the love of our characters now that's keeping us invested rather than I don't necessarily want to know what happens to them. I'm watching just because I want to spend time with them.
Yeah, really good point. I mean, they are driving the Smithy and Nessa. I think that's the real story of season 3.
Yeah, and I guess I was thinking about this. I was thinking that, the stakes are a little bit higher now that Nessa's actually engaged. But I feel like also we just expect now if they're in the same room together, they're going to end up sleeping together.
Especially if alcohol's involved.
It wasn't surprising to me. And then it was interesting because I was thinking in terms of the upcoming Christmas special where we'll finally learn whether Smithy said yes to Nessa's engagement, or even whether Nessa's decided to follow through with it, I'm actually not all that invested in whether or not they do end up together.
No.
To me, that's kind of the least interesting aspect of their relationship. Yeah, I don't know. I was just thinking when I was watching that, because it didn't surprise me that they were together, and then it didn't surprise me that they then couldn't look at each other again. I don't know. There's something sort of...
Yeah, it's interesting. Because the other thing that struck me this episode was, Nessa's pretty terrible to Dave Coaches.
She's horrible.
And he's not perfect, but he's a good upstanding guy in some ways, and he's obviously fond of Neil the baby and trying to do the right thing and very heavily into Ness. And she's... he didn't know about the whole trip to Essex, and she said, "Oh, I told you on Tuesday night when you were asleep."
Yeah.
And I was just like, "Oh, that's not right. Come on, he deserves better than that."
He does.
Poor Dave. He's not my favourite character. He's certainly not the funniest one, but
pretty reliable. And I can't believe I don't understand why he's with her. She's horrible to him.
Yeah, she's awful.
Yeah. On a different note, did you have a favourite heartwarming moment?
I don't think this episode was huge for heartwarmingness. I think it was just a crazy mess. But they just took one of those little moments to show Stace being sad that she didn't have the sex that she wasn't wanting it for sex. She wanted it for baby making, and she was trying so hard to get a shag in with Gavin, and he was just being either drunk or not on it. And her quiet sadness about that was, I felt for her.
I found it actually, there wasn't, like you say, really heartwarming touch points, but I really loved the joyfulness and spontaneity of this. And I loved when they all arrive at Mick and Pam's and they're just all so genuinely happy to be together and to spend the weekend together. I thought that was lovely. And I loved the spontaneity of the party, and it gets very, very messy, but it was fun.
It was lovely. And there was a scene when Gavin's come home and Dawn and Pete are so pleased to see him and they're giving him hugs and really want to talk with him. And it was like my partner's parents had 2 very good friends in that sort of dynamic of Dawn and Pete and Pam and Mick. And, they'd quite often be there when we went around, and they were always so pleased to see us, and they always wanted to hear all about us and new stuff about us. And it was just, I don't know, that just rang really true for me, that stuff. It was lovely. And it was all done in their squashed little foyer, which is kind of an iconic
meeting
part
place
of their family home. Yeah. So, yeah, I agree with that.
And did you have a favourite joke or line or scene?
Do you know the thing that made me laugh the hardest was when they're all out in the backyard having a ciggy, and they're all pretty blind by that stage. They decide to go back in for shots and they start a conga line, and Pete is so drunk that he can't quite catch the conga line. So he's just having a really funny conga line on his own as he lurches drunken. Oh, my God.
It's pretty funny.
That's some really funny physical comedy right there, because it was pitch perfect. Like, it wasn't overplayed. He's brilliant, that guy.
He is very good.
Yeah.
I think really the scene which you've talked about, the ordering the Indian takeaway, the whole thing is so classic and so excellent because I hate sharing my food, and I don't mind.
I love it.
I don't mind
yeah.
so much if it's Indian, but if it's stuff like pasta, and my partner has only just kind of accepted and not taking it as this personal insult that I don't want to share my food. Because I love as well, I guess, especially because when his comes, it quite often looks better than what I. But I love how Smithy, when he says, why is it somehow unacceptable to eat your own food that you have ordered yourself? And then he says, I was out the other night and they were saying, yours looks really nice. And he says, yes, it does. That's why I've ordered it. I was just, the whole thing was perfect.
It's iconic. It's one of those ones that just keeps coming up on little grabs on social media.
Yeah.
It's just one of the most famous scenes ever. And in fact, I like that he doesn't say unacceptable. He says unexpectable.
Oh, yes, unexpectable. Yes. Yeah.
Why is it unexpectable? And they take their time over it. You hear all their individual orders. They don't gloss over it. You got to sit through the list of bhajis and boonas and all that sort of thing, and it's really good.
Yeah.
It's really good.
It's excellent. So we've been thinking of questions to ask each other to see how carefully we've been watching. And did you think of a question to ask me? Not that I will know the answer, because I never do.
Can you remember the names that Bryn and Gwen chose when they were being the terrible interviewers for Stacey's job interview practice?
No, I can't. They were good though.
They were good.
No, I can't remember.
If I come in with their first names, maybe you can get their surnames. Declan.
No.
Sandra.
Oh, Sandra, I can remember. Yeah, Sandra.
Can you remember the surname?
No.
Oh, it was Sandra Toxvig, as in Sandy Toxvig, which made me laugh so much.
Yeah, of course. I didn't. Oh, I don't think I even noticed.
He said Declan and then said McPartlin. I don't think that's someone famous. I think that he just went, what goes with Declan, and I think that McPartlin is a really funny answer.
Yeah.
Like, it just, I didn't Google it to see if Declan McPartlin was an actual person, because they do that with names. But certainly Sandy Toxvig.
I don't think I heard the Toxvig bit. I just remembered the Sandy bit. I enjoyed that scene a lot. Okay, I've got two questions, but I think they're, because I think you're going to be able to answer the first one. What does Stacey order for the takeaway?
Lamb korma.
Correct. What song are they dancing to when they're on the sofa?
Oh, it was madness.
Yeah.
It was so good. And they're doing the madness moves. So good, that scene.
That was great, wasn't it?
And there's Ness wearing Mick's shirt at the end of it, and then he's on the couch with her shirt on. And
it was fantastic.
It's so good.
Yep. All right, well, not a lot happened. A lot happened, but not really a lot in terms of driving the plot or changing the characters or anything. But I think I, for one, am not coming back for the storylines. I'm just looking forward to watching the next episode and losing myself in all these wonderful characters.
Yeah, each scene is a gem, isn't it? It's so good.
It really is.
Enjoying it a lot.
All right, well, I'll talk to you next time, Kazla.
Thanks, Tracelar.
Bye.